Following an encounter with Raditz, Yulong and Goku have learned more about themselves, but it also seems like a threat is on the horizon, especially with the fact that Raditz is trying to instigate. What will Cooler do next? We'll be seeing all that and more in this fourth part of What If Frieza Was Good. Yulong explains to Goku further that this is his true self. This form takes no stamina to maintain, it's just him. For so long, he knew nothing about this form, nothing about himself really. And now he's finally starting to learn, all in this relatively short time span. He had no clue of what his origin was. He didn't know his power went this far. And with all the new info being presented to him, he wonders, what was he supposed to be like before he came to Earth? What was he destined to be? Nearby where they are, there's some water. And Yulong walks over to it, looking at his reflection. He doesn't even recognize his current self. What is this Frieza person supposed to be like? Is there any chance of him ever becoming that at all? Or is he different? Is he his own person? He's been left with a lot to think about. Assuming what Raditz said is true, which it probably is. But Goku tells him their past lives don't matter. Kakarot and Frieza, they don't exist anymore. He's Goku, and the person in front of him, it's Yulong. For some reason, it seems like they were fated to end up here together, both turning good. As far as Goku is concerned, Yulong is more of an older brother to him than Raditz is. Maybe it's good that they forgot after all this time. Goku does kind of wonder what he would have been like as Kakarot, but he doesn't waste much effort thinking about that. It's useless to think about. He's Goku from Earth, and that's exactly what Yulong should think like. He's Yulong from Earth. Yulong's always felt so alien from everyone, literally and figuratively. He lives at Kame House, secluded. He clearly doesn't look human, and his power has always been treated as otherworldly. People have praised him for it. People have attacked him for it. That might be part of the reason why he felt so empty with trying to get more power. And looking at the form he's in now, it makes him wonder, what's Cooler going to be like? He doesn't want to fight Cooler, but he's smart. He knows that Raditz is probably going to plan something to get Cooler to come here. Was this excessive power meant to be used for cruelty? He can't help but feel that's the case. But Goku's right. That doesn't matter anymore. Yulong turns to him and smiles. If they do end up facing Cooler, they will win. At best, no one comes to Earth. Maybe Raditz returns with the other two Saiyan, which will be easy to stop. At worst, Cooler comes here, who they know nothing about, but they should remain confident. The smart thing to do right now is to start training. This time around, Yulong becomes a teacher of sorts, training Goku, Tenshinhan, Krillin, Yamcha, and Chaozu. He doesn't know Yamcha as well as everyone else, but he has trained at Kame House before and was here a few years ago. The other four, he actually does know pretty well, especially Goku, Krillin, and surprisingly Chaozu. He knows exactly what they need to work on, and he's going to help them. Goku, Tenshinhan, and Krillin are constantly trying to surpass each other. They have a three-way rivalry, and they're far beyond their canon selves at this point, mainly due to the fact that their training's been completely different. Goku's had a head start, while Ten and Krillin have spent a lot of time with Kami. Right now the powers are as follows. Goku's at 2,000, Ten's not too far behind at 1,500, with Krillin also being the same exact power level. Then there's a pretty sizable gap with Yamcha at 200, and Chaozu also at 200. As for Yulong, he still has never used his 100% power. Even though he knows what his final form's like, aka his true self, he hasn't used it at 100%, and he needs to get past his mental barriers and tap into that. But right now, his maximum power is actually really high. 200 million. It's excessive compared to everyone else, but it's pretty conservative when you think about it. His growth has been slower than the normal Frieza would be due to multiple reasons. He's been subconsciously suppressing himself a bunch. He hasn't been training strength as much. He is a little bit lazy too, and also those injuries and rehabilitation he had, that held him back from growing even further. Sure, he's seen growth. Like his power right now, it's much higher than Final Form Frieza, even at 100%. But if he trained rigorously, consistently, and didn't get held back by his injuries and rehabilitation, he'd be way stronger than this at this point. He's only just now starting to realize his full potential, and by finally getting to see what his true form is like, day by day, the rate at which he grows is accelerating. Ever since learning more about himself, he's been reinvigorated. And that's kind of why he's a teacher now too. He's knowledgeable, and so much stronger than the group that he wants to get them to his level. But that's a pretty high bar. He doesn't know if that's possible. Still, worth a shot. If anyone could do it, it's these people around him. At the same time though, it might sound like his power is a little bit excessive, but you also have to consider, Cooler's been training too. Nobody knows his true power. But one thing's for sure, Yulong and Cooler are both in a league of their own. After Yulong trains everybody for a bit, Kami then contacts them and tells them to come to the lookout. He has a much better idea for what they should do. Not because Yulong's a bad teacher or anything, but because they could learn something else from King Kai. King Kai begins talking with them through their minds, and he introduces himself. Normally he wouldn't get involved, but for something like this, he kind of needs to. Everyone besides Yulong goes to King Kai. Yulong decides it's best to stay here because he wants to protect Earth. It's better to have at least one person here, and especially with him being the strongest, he should probably stay here. But King Kai does want to talk to him directly, so he speaks through his mind. He's sure Yulong has a lot of questions by now, and King Kai actually does have some answers. He's been watching Earth for a while. He knows how Yulong got there. Like he said before, normally he wouldn't get involved with things like this, but considering it involves Frieza and Cooler, trillions of lives are at risk. Yes, it's that serious. So he explains what he knows and confirms everything. Yes, Yulong is actually formerly Frieza. He was born into that family, born pure evil actually. That empire that Cooler now rules, Frieza was actually the one destined to take over it. Cooler decided to assassinate him. King Kai is honestly not too sure how this happened, but it appears the trauma from everything after Cooler's assassination attempt, it changed how Yulong's mind worked, similar to Goku hitting his head and how that changed his mind. But he confirms everything he knows and tells him more about Cooler as well as King Cold. But he ends this off with a warning, telling Yulong that his power and potential are far greater than he realizes. Cooler is definitely a risk to everyone, but Yulong still doesn't know his full strength. He needs to learn how to control that. He only just started to access a fraction of that. If he truly wants to protect Earth, he needs to first of all know his limits, and second of all, he needs to know how to control that. He can't even theorize how far Yulong's power goes, but he knows it's probably pretty far. Yulong thanks King Kai for the info. Now he finally has confirmation, and also the words of encouragement from King Kai. He'll take that all to heart. King Kai basically reaffirmed what Yulong already assumed about himself, mainly the part about his power. Until he reaches full harmony with himself and his power, he's not going to be fully complete. More importantly, he won't be able to defeat Cooler until that time comes. Which is also part of the reason he's staying on Earth too. He doesn't need to learn more things from King Kai, as great as they might be. He still has a long way to go as Yulong, and until he does that, he won't have realized his true potential. Meanwhile in space, Cooler plans to go to Earth. It's not really a top priority right now, so it might take some time. Plus, as mentioned in the last part, getting to this point in the story, it actually does take some time because first of all, Raditz needs to travel to space, and everything needs to move around in the Cooler Force, up until the point when Cooler actually meets with Raditz in person. Don't worry, we're done jumping around here, but this is about a year ahead. That's where we currently are at the point when Cooler gets the concrete info and plans for attacking, and slowly starts to make his move. He has an empire to run after all, and he preferred to see Raditz in person before deciding anything. Obviously he does need to confirm what's going on. He's not going to waste his time and resources to go there based on the hunch from a Saiyan, one who he barely trusts in the first place. But he's more than confirmed it. Frieza is there on Earth. There is no doubt about that. Which means there's no doubt that Cooler wants to go there and kill him. Besides, running this empire does take a lot of time. But in the meantime, he could at least send some other people out to Earth. Following the year that's passed, we go back to Earth itself. Of course, Yulong's been training himself, spending a lot of time in his final form trying to get control over it. Not that it's hard to control, but it's mainly the fact that he doesn't know how far he can go with it. He hasn't used his full power yet, he's just trying to use this form in general. Because this form isn't a form, this is just him. The other three forms before it, those are suppressions. He knows that by now. The issue is trying to get the full power of this form because that's actually something beyond what he normally uses. But also during this time, he's been training with someone, mainly to teach them. He's been training Gohan, per Goku's request. After meeting him at Kame House, he did want to get to know him more, and he comes to learn that this kid is just like Goku. They haven't trained a lot, but he spent some time keeping him company, and also showing him the basics of martial arts. But amidst this training, he could send something far away. It's actually really far, outside the boundaries of the solar system. Nobody else could even sense it besides King Kai. And before King Kai could say anything, Yulong then contacts everyone on the planet, which kind of amazes them because first of all, he was able to sense them all here without a trigger. He shouldn't know the location of King Kai's planet and how to contact it. Second of all, he's projecting his thoughts this far. And third, how did he sense enemies that far away? They weren't even powered up. King Kai's just amazed about all this. It's almost scary actually. But Yulong basically gives the warning that everyone needs to get back here. They have about a day until they face the first enemies, but they get back just in time. Crossing Snake Way doesn't take too long the way back, and they actually get some time to prepare. Yulong stands atop a large mountain, trying to sense exactly where the ship's going. He feels it getting closer to Earth. It's on the complete opposite side. Right now he's also in his first form, just so no one sees his true power. But the second he senses the ship getting close, he leaps from the mountain, darting around the planet with insane speed, grabbing onto the ship as it enters the atmosphere, and flinging it into a nearby wasteland, causing it to crash land. The rest of the group then comes over to where Yulong is. They didn't expect that, but that's good because it at least prevents it from landing in a city. Still, kinda crazy though how he just did that on a whim. From the crash ship, 3 people step off. It's Cooler's armored squadron. The first thing they do is confirm that Frieza's there. They see him and relay that to Cooler. Goku, Ten, and Krillin step up first to fight, each facing one member on their own. This will be a great test of their power. Yulong's not even going to fight here, same for Yamcha and Chaozu for that matter. They just sit aside and watch. Goku tells the armored squadron that they've grown significantly. He's not sure if they're on their level. He doesn't even know who these guys are. But they've spent a year with King Kai and have learned a bunch of things. There's 5 people training together on the planet. Plus, they started at higher points already. And they had a bunch of time on King Kai's planet. It's not like a lot of that was wasted traveling across Snake Way. And Yulong's impressed. It seems to be exponential growth. This is a really tough battle for them too. But still, judging by the power of the armored squadron, the old Goku, Tenshinhan, and Krillin wouldn't have been able to beat them. They really have grown a lot with King Kai. And the main thing that's driving them, it's the fact that they could use Kaioken. Goku was actually going to try and use Great Ape somehow, but it's not like he could transform to that willingly. He does remember Raditz tried something to transform before, but Goku never got to see what it was because Yulong stopped him. He eventually would like to learn something like that, but in the meantime he has Kaioken, which he could actually push pretty high. By now he could use Kaioken at times 10, and if he really wants to push himself, times 20. As for the other two, they could do the same but it's a lot tougher for them. They mostly use something like Kaioken times 8, and with that the armored squadron is defeated. Not easily, but still, each in a 1v1. Of course, Cooler was watching the entire time from the scouters. He can't believe it. He really wanted to see Frieza fight, but these people alone are powerful. He thought the squadron would be enough. But he'll be there soon enough to finish this. About 2 months from now, one scouter turned into a speaker, with Cooler talking directly to Yulong through it. It's good to finally learn that Frieza's actually alive. He's amazed that his brother survived all that. He thought he really finished the job back then. But this time he won't make the same mistake. Yulong doesn't reply at all, but Cooler keeps trying to taunt him through it. So, Yulong lifts up the scouter, pointing it right at himself. Still, saying nothing, he crushes it, completely ignoring Cooler's taunts. This only serves to piss Cooler off even more, but he could tell that he was getting under Frieza's skin. Those 2 months pass, and after some extra training, the day has finally arrived. A ship arrives on Earth, and everyone's ready this time, just like before. Except, it's not just one ship, it's a couple of ships, and there's a lot of people aboard them. Cooler's brought basically his entire army, and he steps off first, looking around at the group. They all look pretty unassuming, especially with Yulong there in his first form wearing his gi. Yulong's kinda disguising himself at the moment because using his first form will make him look weaker than he is. It's kind of a shame though because this gi's gonna get torn off mid-battle. He'll have to get a new one later, but it feels disrespectful still. And after all this time, Cooler could finally greet his brother, glad to see his own flesh and blood alive after so long. Of course, saying this sarcastically. Yulong says there's no point in wasting time, they should just try and fight as is. Cooler then calls for everyone to get off the ships. A bunch of soldiers step off. But someone in the crowd catches Goku's eye. He sees Raditz again, as well as what he assumes are the other 2 Saiyans. Their job will be to fight the army, while Yulong's gonna face off against Cooler. And Yulong starts off with some mind games, telling Cooler he's gonna use his full strength right off the bat, transforming right into his second form. He gains some height on Cooler, but he tries to make it seem like this form is his limit. Maybe this way he can catch Cooler off guard if he is too strong. He does want to gauge Cooler's strength, and with this bluff, this is the perfect way to do so. It's not wise to coax Cooler into using his full strength right away, unless he actually is at this level, in which case it'll be an easy battle. But if not, this is a pretty good mind game to play. And Cooler's a bit surprised to see this. This can't really be his limit. But he does remember before when the armored squadron arrived, he was only in his first form the entire time. So maybe it is. Maybe Frieza really is that pathetic. This should be fun. And with that, we'll leave off here for now. What do you guys think about this part? Or what's going to happen next time? Leave your thoughts and ideas in the comments below. I'd love to see what you guys think. As usual, be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really does help out the channel and shows me you want to see more like this. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.